amid a brutal war spanning 3 decades. Rebuilt a tsunami-ravaged nation, was a beacon of hope for those who felt the wrath of Mother Nature in times of natural disasters. Today, they are in a relentless battle to safeguard the nation from the deadly coronavirus pandemic. Newsfirst extends its gratitude and congratulations to the Sri Lanka Army on its 71st anniversary. May you continue to succeed in your endeavours to actively contribute towards the sustainable development of our nation and in your efforts to create a disciplined and law-abiding citizenry.
A new COVID-19 cluster has been detected in Sri Lanka, and new COVID-19 cases continue to crop up from various areas across the country. However, the public health inspectors are of the opinion that the spread of this new COVID-19 cluster in Sri Lanka is currently under control. Where are we really at as a country in controlling the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic? Stay tuned to Primetime News on TV1 and you will find out. First, a look at your headlines tonight.
Investigations underway to find 119 people who tested positive for COVID-19. Staffer at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children test positive for COVID-19. Health authorities request anyone who met an employee of the Minuangoda Brandix factory after the 23rd of September to immediately submit to a PCR test. Grade 5 scholarship exam to be held tomorrow. Special plan implemented in areas where curfew is imposed. Sri Lanka Army celebrates its 71st anniversary. 14,654 officers promoted.
Starting off with your top story tonight, the number of COVID-19 patients from the Minuangoda cluster increased to 1,086 today. According to the Health Ministry, 3 minor staff members at the National Hospital tested positive for COVID-19. 2 wards and an operating theatre have been closed temporarily. A total of 35 COVID-19 patients were identified in the island yesterday. 5 of them had arrived in the country from overseas. 24 close contacts of the employees at the factory in Minuangoda, 1 employee at the factory and 3 other contacts tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. Meanwhile, the Gampaha District Secretary Sunil Jayalath revealed that 119 COVID-19 patients have still not been accounted for as of this afternoon. The District Secretary added that operations are currently underway with the assistance of the security forces. He further said that the addresses of some of the COVID-19 patients which have not been found are incorrect.
By today, 5,357 PCR tests have been conducted in the Gampaha district. A further 1,770 reports are yet to be received. 970 positive reports have come in. We are currently trying to locate 119 of them. A special operation is in effect with the assistance of security forces. Yesterday, the number was much higher, around 250. Now it has reduced to 119.
Meanwhile, Chief Epidemiologist at the Epidemiology Unit, Dr. Sudat Samaravira, has requested anyone who met with an employee of the Minuangoda Brandix factory after the 23rd of September to immediately submit to a PCR test.
If there is anyone connected to the Brandix company or anyone who had contact with any employee at the factory, their relatives or anyone close to them after the 23rd of September and has not been subject to a PCR test, please inform the regional health authorities about it. Also, if you have had contact with anyone who has tested positive for COVID-19, you should inform the health authorities of that as well.
Is it true that COVID-19 clusters apart from the Brandix cluster exist?
We know there are reports from different quarters. The cases have been found in different places with hardly any link to the primary cases that we have earlier found. We traced the contacts, immediate contacts and the past travel history and other information related to these patients. We have found in most all occasions there had been a link directly or indirectly to the so-called cluster that we have already found in Minuwangoda factory. Almost all cases can be linked to the current primary cluster that we have found. But we know that when patients are found initially, we find the immediate contacts, and once they become positive, we have to trace the contacts of that person.
According to the Health Ministry, the majority of the COVID-19 cases belonging to the Minuwangoda corona cluster are asymptomatic.
Some question us as to if the virus is asymptomatic and if the effectiveness has reduced or increased. As of now, we do not see a clear scientific difference in the virus. But what we have realized after observing the cases in the Navy cluster and Kandakadu cluster is that young people and ones who maintain an active social life are more likely to contract the virus. Among these cases, people who were symptomatic were more compared to the people who showed symptoms. We are currently providing the necessary treatment to the close contacts we had identified. Meanwhile, we have also identified the close contacts of them as well. Among them can be senior citizens or people who are already ill. It is important for us to control the virus from spreading to areas with higher risks.
මේක පැතිරීම වළක්වීම සඳහා ගත හැකි සියලු පියවර ගැනීම වැදගත් වෙනවා.
What is the situation at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children? A staffer at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital tested positive for COVID-19 today. A 10-month-old infant tested positive for COVID-19. Previously, the father of a child being treated at the hospital for 2.5 months was also tested positive. However, today the hospital said that they had not tested positive for the virus.
It was reported that a staff at the hospital had contracted COVID-19. We are conducting PCR tests on everyone else at the hospital. Also, we will conduct PCR tests on the patients at the hospital as well. We are still unsure as to how the staff at the hospital contracted the virus. No one at the ward the staffer was working at had tested positive for the virus. Yesterday, it was reported that the father of a patient here had tested positive for COVID-19. When we tested them again, it was confirmed that this person had not contracted COVID-19. The child and the mother are also negative for COVID-19.
Did a COVID-19 infected person attend the Colombo International Book Fair?
Although certain reports circulated that an infected person attended the book fair, public health inspectors investigating the incident have not gathered sufficient evidence to say so. So we cannot say for certain that an infected person had attended the book fair.
The situation at the Katunayaka Investment Zone. State Minister of Aviation Services and Development of Export Zones said that 3 factories in the Katunayaka Investment Zone have been closed down. He added that these measures were taken as COVID-19 patients were identified from these factories. The Sri Jayawardhanapura University confirmed that a student at the university had tested positive for COVID-19. The university added that the student's mother serves as a nurse at the intensive care unit of the Panadura Hospital. The Public Health Inspectors Association said that COVID-19 cluster in Minuwangoda and Diulipitiya is now under control.
We have been able to control the spread of the COVID-19 cluster that was detected in Minuwangoda on the 3rd of this month. There is a possibility of new patients being reported in the coming days as well. Also, there is a possibility of patients being reported from various parts of the island in the coming days. Today, a number of 2nd and 3rd level contacts tested positive for COVID-19 in various parts of the island. But the public health inspectors, together with the armed forces, have successfully controlled the spread of this cluster in Diulipitiya and Minuwangoda. Following the emergence of the Minuwangoda cluster, other positive cases were also identified at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children, Borella Castle Street Hospital for Women, Horana Base Hospital, Watupetiwala Investment Zone, Katunayaka Investment Zone, Minuwangoda Police Station, Bandaranaike International Airport, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and the National Hospital, Colombo.
Essential goods outlets in the areas where the curfew has been imposed were reopened at 8 this morning. This was the situation in those areas today. Quarantine curfew is imposed in Gampaha, Ganemulla, Kinindiwala, Dompe, Malwatuhirupitiya, Mirigama, Nittambuwa, Pugoda, Veyangoda, Minuwangoda, Veeragula, Valiveria, Palliwala, Yakkala, Jayala, Kandana, Dewlapitiya and Sidua police jurisdictions. Diajajit Rohana said that people in those areas are only allowed to visit the shop near their houses. As of this afternoon, 97 people have been arrested for violating the curfew.
Preparations to conduct the Grade 5 scholarship examination and the advanced level examination that were delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic are currently in its final stages. The Grade 5 scholarship examination will be held tomorrow, the 11th of October, while the A-level examination will begin on Monday, the 12th of October. 331,694 candidates will sit for the scholarship examination this year at 2,936 examination centres. The Commissioner General of Examination said that a special program has been put in place for areas under quarantine curfew.
Special attention has been paid to the examination centres set up in the 18 police divisions in the Gampaha district where quarantine curfew is in effect. Some parents and children have misunderstood this. These special examination centres have been set up for students in the Gampaha district who are due to sit the exam at an examination centre in Colombo. Students in the Gampaha district must report to their respective examination centres. Otherwise, there will be an issue in distributing the exam papers. The examination centre at the Kirillavala Mahavidyalaya in the Kalaniya Police Division is only for students in the area who were due to sit their examination at a centre in Colombo. We have received permission from the police for students to use their admission forms as a curfew pass. If you are travelling in your uniform, you can be easily identified. CTP buses and trains will be in operation and you can reach your examination centres without a problem. There is a special examination centre for 2 students writing their scholarship exam at the Apeksha Hospital. There is also a special examination centre for the students who are currently at the IDH Hospital.
Close to 6,000 students in the Gampaha district are facing the Grade 5 scholarship examination, while 7,000 students are due to face their advanced level examination in the Gampaha district. 50 examination centres have been set up in the Minuwangoda examination zone for the Grade 5 scholarship examination, while 37 examination centres have been set up in the education zone for the advanced level examination.
Steps have been taken to disinfect all examination centres. The zonal health officials conducted this disinfection today.
The Government Information Department has said that steps have been taken to separate train compartments for students to travel to their examination centres.
Our main focus was directed towards the safety and health of the students. All these plans were made taking those factors into account. This is a fully fledged program of the government. Every desk inside the examination hall will be 1.5 meters apart and only 20 students will be allowed inside an exam hall. All health guidelines including social distancing, washing hands and body temperature checks will be in place at all exam centres.
According to an update issued by the Department of Government Information, 103 new COVID-19 patients have been identified today. Now, these 103 new COVID-19 patients includes 2 members of the staff at the factory in Minuwangoda and 101 of their close associates. This brings the total number of COVID-19 patients in the Minuwangoda cluster alone to 1,186. Now, as at the beginning of the bulletin we mentioned, today the valiant Sri Lanka Army celebrates 71 years of unparalleled service to Mother Sri Lanka. And on this momentous day, we've got Newsfirst's Jaimal Ratnayaka with a detailed report.
Thank you, Shalan. The Sri Lanka Army, defenders of the nation. For more than 7 decades, the Sri Lanka Army has commanded the admiration of the nation for its unparalleled, unwavering loyalty, dedication, devotion and support for the nation in times of strife. The Sri Lanka Army has gone beyond the call of duty in delivering its unparalleled services, especially in times of national security threats, emergencies and disasters. Even now, in light of COVID-19, the Sri Lanka Army continues to safeguard the nation from an invisible enemy. So, on the day the Sri Lanka Army celebrates its 71st anniversary, we here at News First, along with the entire citizenry of Sri Lanka, pay you our resolute gratitude. This is our tribute to you. The Sri Lanka Army, is a beacon of courage, loyalty, valor and chivalry to the people of Mother Lanka. Founded on the 10th of October 1949 as the Ceylon Army after forming its first regular force under the command of Brigadier R. Sinclair, the establishment of its own military academy in Diatalava afterwards saw Brigadier Anton Muthukumaru assume the mantle of office as the first Sri Lankan commander of the then Ceylon Army. Blossomed into a full-fledged professional army during its lifespan of the past 71 years, the Sri Lanka Army to date has been effectively commanded by 23 commanders, elevating the much-sought organization to impressive heights. Needless to place on record its expansion with 24 regiments across the country as the most prominent security provider to all at the expense of their own lives has won the hearts and minds of all ethnicities. Having amply displayed its unmatched services in times of national security threats, catastrophes, disasters, emergencies, with performances of breathtaking virtuosity, the Sri Lanka Army, while promoting gestures of goodwill and reconciliation, safeguarding national security interests, engaging in mega nation-building tasks, contributing to UN peacekeeping missions, humanitarian projects, demining, constructing houses and common buildings, reforestation, restoration and renovation of lakes and tanks, continues its forward march unabated in an impressive manner, sacrificing their lives for the nation in times of war and serving our motherland in times of great peril, such as the current COVID-19 pandemic. The Sri Lanka Army has been the guardians of our nation for 71 years. We at News First, together with the people of Sri Lanka, would like to convey our sincere gratitude to the Sri Lanka Army for 71 years of unparalleled service. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and opposition leader Sajith Premadasa extended their wishes to the Sri Lanka Army in light of its 71st anniversary.
President Rajapaksa said that the Sri Lanka Army has contributed greatly and actively towards safeguarding the unity, sovereignty and territorial integrity of Sri Lanka for over 7 decades. Moreover, the President also said that the Sri Lanka Army continues to render an invaluable service in its efforts to shield the country from various threats, disasters and obstacles. He also mentioned that the contribution from the Sri Lanka Army during the COVID-19 pandemic is highly appreciated. While he congratulates the Sri Lanka Army on its 71st anniversary, he also extended his gratitude towards the substantial strength provided by the Army towards ensuring national security, efforts provided in disaster management and in the country's development drive. Extending his wishes for the 71st anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said the Sri Lanka Army spearheaded the operation of eradicating separatist terrorism in the country. The Prime Minister has extended his gratitude towards those who laid down their lives to protect the nation. Further, the Prime Minister has said the Sri Lanka Army continues to provide a significant service in the front lines during the battles to combat COVID-19. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa congratulated the Sri Lanka Army on its 71st anniversary on Twitter. He said that the Sri Lanka Army has proven a track record of eradicating terrorism and protecting Sri Lanka's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He also wished them the best in carrying out their duties by the country in post-conflict Sri Lanka, which entails strength and resolve in promoting national security and promoting social harmony, brotherhood and friendship among people of all ethnicities and religious persuasions.
To coincide with the 71st anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army, a number of officers and other ranks were promoted to their next ranks. A total of 14,654 officers have been promoted in line with the 71st anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army. 514 officers and 14,140 other ranks have been promoted. Accordingly, 12 brigadiers to the rank of Major General, 13 colonels to the rank of brigadier, 47 lieutenant colonels to the rank of colonel, 58 majors to the rank of lieutenant colonel, 234 captains to the rank of major, 99 lieutenants to the rank of captain, and 51 second lieutenants to the rank of lieutenant were promoted. Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva is the commander of the Sri Lanka Army. He is a battle-hardened soldier who continues to revolutionize the service with his visionary concepts. Even amidst a raging battle between COVID-19 and security forces, the commander of the Sri Lanka Army expressed these sentiments in light of their anniversary.
It is customary to present a guard of honor to the army commander to celebrate the 71st anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army. This year we had planned to present arms to the 7th Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Sri Lanka and a distinguished former officer of the Sri Lanka Army, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Due to the prevailing situation of the country because of COVID-19, as a tribute to the public, we will not hold the ceremonies. We will hold it on a different day. What the country is expecting from the army is to protect the nation's sovereignty, its territorial integrity, and to give protection to its people. However, throughout history for the past 71 years, the Sri Lanka Army has protected the nation from many disasters. Sri Lanka Army has done a massive contribution to overcome a 30-year war and usher in peace to the nation. A large sum of brave soldiers of the Sri Lanka Army were fallen in battle throughout that process. We would like to gratefully remind those fallen veterans today on the 71st anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army. Not only that, a large sum of soldiers were injured. Even today, those soldiers are receiving treatment at various locations. While wishing a quick healing process to those soldiers, as the commander of the army, I would like to dedicate this moment to the former members and the current army officers who are trying their very best to protect the nation.
Thank you very much, Jamal, for that detailed report on the history of the valiant Sri Lanka Army. Moving on, in more local news, former IGP Pujit Jayasundara, testifying at the Presidential Commission probing the April 21st attack, said the Sri Lanka police did not have a contingency plan to prevent the attack after foreign information was received on the 9th of April on a possible terror attack.
The witness added on the evening of the 20th of April, former director of the State Intelligence Service, Nilantha Jayawardena, had called him and informed him about a developed intelligence of the information received on the 9th of April, but nothing was mentioned about a place where attacks will be carried out. Jayasundara said that the SIS director called him and said a major incident might occur on the 21st. Then he had instructed him to inform the senior DIG in charge of the Western Province, Nandana Munasinghe, and the other senior DIGs, and that Jayasundara will follow up with them as well. However, the former IGP added the intelligence received on the 20th of April was from a foreign source and it had not been confirmed by the SIS. When he inquired it from Nilantha Jayawardena, he had replied saying that further inquiries are being made at that time. When the Commission questioned Jayasundara whether the intelligence information received on the 9th and 20th of April had to be conveyed to then President Maithripala Sirisena, the former IGP replied saying yes, but it is the duty of the director of SIS since he was the person who received the intelligence. Concluding, he said that he never conveyed any intelligence to the president during his tenure.
A letter against the release of Riyadh Badud, the brother of former Minister Riyadh Badud, who was arrested for the charges of aiding and abetting the April 21st attacks, was handed over to the President and Prime Minister with the signatures of 100 ruling MPs. Following views were expressed by both the ruling party and the opposition faction in this regard.
First,
it was signed by Mahindananda Alutgamage and I signed it after him. By placing our signatures, what we expect to do is remove the uncertainty revolving around this matter. We have to do that as an MP and as ministers. Therefore, what we ask is to carry out a fair and just investigation again. I know very well that our government, our president and our prime minister did not have a hand in releasing Riyadh Badud. I am of the opinion that if a mistake has been made in this regard, the people should be made aware of it. We do not have deals with anyone. We have the 150 we need. Now they hand over a letter to the president requesting for his arrest. How can he be arrested like that? Can he be arrested just because a group of SLPP MPs sign a letter and hand it over to the president? Is there a law like that in the country? If the president can order his arrest, what is the point of the court, the law, the police and the criminal investigations department? It was not us who released Riyadh Badud. It was expressed in parliament that he was not connected to the April 21st attacks. That is why they are angry now. The police say that he is not connected, but they say he is. Are they the police? Are they the CID? People who were vociferous back then will have to be ashamed now.
මේගොල්ලෝ ද CID එකේ ඉන්නේ මේ අද මේ එදා කතා කරපු උදවියගේ කල්සම් නැතුව තමයි පාරවල් වල යන්න වෙන්නේ
ජනතාව තුල සැකයක් විතරක් නෙවෙයි ඔහු නිදහස් කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපෙත් විරෝධ
Not only a suspicion on the part of the people, we are also against his release. We have also made a request to carry out an investigation regarding his release. As the government, we are not connected to the release in any way. What we think is there is some invisible force behind his release. That is why we made this request from the president. Everyone, including Riyadh Badud, who were connected to the April 21st attacks, will not be involved in our government that obtained a 2/3 majority from the general public. So cast away all your suspicion.
රජයකට එකතු කරගන්න සූදානමක් නැහැ ඒක සිදු වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ දැන් අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ රටම දන්නේ නැතුව ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂයේ ඉන්න
A secret deal has been struck between Badurdin and the government, unbeknownst to all of us. That is why the MPs have signed and handed over a letter to the president. Even they do not know. These MPs are helpless. The subject minister accepted that he has not been involved in any terrorist activity. This government is run by 3 people.
සුර පොරයක් කරන සෞභාගයක් හදන්න
ලියවිල්ලට හැබැයි 100 දෙනා යස්සම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ හැබැයි කියන්නේ දැන් තුනෙන් දෙක බලයක් ඔබතුමාලා ගත්තනේ
කැමති කට්ටිය අස්සම්
People who were present there might have signed it. People who wanted to sign would have signed it. People who didn't want to sign would have not signed it. I signed it.
නොකරන්නේ මං අස්සම් කළා
Sri Lanka's geopolitics. A group of American delegates serving the US Embassy in Colombo engaged in an inspection tour at the Hambantota International Port. The defense attaché of the Embassy of the United States of America in Colombo and 2 other delegates engaged in the tour. The delegates have met with senior level officials at the Hambantota International Port Group. Indian Defence Advisor in Sri Lanka, Captain Vikas Sood, met Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne at the ministry yesterday. Highlighting the long existing bilateral ties between the 2 countries, Captain Vikas praised the Operation Sagar Araksha activities for successfully dousing the fire on board MT New Diamond recently. The Defence Secretary said he is grateful to the Indian government for successfully conducting the operations and also paid his concerns into the significance of maritime cooperation and the effectiveness of interoperability between both countries. Retired Major General Gunaratne also commended the supportive measures extended for this naval operation in order to protect maritime resources, livelihood, tourism and fisheries. Captain Vikas discussed on introducing India's Jaipur artificial food production to Sri Lanka in order to uplift the livelihood of differently abled persons. Further, both high-level officials had coordinated discussions on matters of mutual relevance during the session.
Meanwhile, foreign influence over Sri Lanka has been widely discussed recently.
ලංකාවට රාජතාන්ත්‍රික දූත පිරිසක් පැමිණියා. රටේ
A group of foreign delegation arrived in Sri Lanka. They did not mind the health guidelines. There are several burning issues here. Why did such a high-powered delegation arrive here at this moment? That is the question. To this moment, the content of their discussion is a secret. It is clear to the world that Sri Lanka is working side by side with China when a struggle is there among world powers for global dominance. We cannot deny the claims made stating that China arrived in Sri Lanka for some sort of political agreement or a deal. We would like to remind you that this social discourse is the truth.
ඒක තමයි සමාජ කතිකාව සහ ඇත්ත කියන එක අපි ආණ්ඩුවට මතක් කරලා දෙන්න කැමතියි.
නායකයින්ගේ යුතුයකම තමයි
What is the duty of the leaders? We are very much suspicious of this discussion held with China, whose delegations came in ignoring the quarantine regulations and during the rise of the COVID pandemic. We are suspicious of government's attempt to turn the country into a Chinese colony. Are there any agreements that were reached? It is a serious matter.
එකගතා දිනවද කියන කාරණේ. ඒක බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්.
This is ours. Sri Lanka's exclusive economic zone. $517,000 square kilometers of beautiful open ocean. Our greatest resource. 8 times our landmass. This is the Sea of Sri Lanka.
In more local news, an unidentified group assaulted an individual opposite a private company in the Dambulla Dedicated Economic Centre yesterday.
According to our correspondent, the assault took place last evening. The individual who sustained serious injuries from the assault is currently under treatment at the Dambulla hospital. Three suspects have been taken into custody with regards to the incident.
What mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation. Today is World Mental Health Day, and this year's World Mental Health Day comes at a time when our daily lives and the daily lives of people around the globe has been drastically changed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Conversations surrounding mental health has never been more imperative than it is now.
According to the World Health Organization, given the past experience of emergencies, it is expected that the need for mental health and psychosocial support will substantially increase in the coming months and years. This year's World Mental Health Day campaign is increased investment in mental health. According to 2001 WHO's World Health Report, around 450 million people live with mental disorders that are among the leading causes of ill health and disability worldwide.
I would like to remind everyone that your mental health is as important as your physical health. There are different services available in Sri Lanka for you to call. One of the services is CCC line, the 1333 number. It's a toll-free, confidential, 24/7 crisis support service. You can call from anywhere in Sri Lanka. Then you have the NIMH number, which is 1926. You have a service like Sumitro, which is 011-269-6666. And also Shanti Margam, which is 071-763-9898. So we always encourage you to talk so that your mental health is strong, because it is as important as your physical health. It is okay not to be okay.
In 2018, the World Economic Forum noted that mental health disorders are on the rise in every country in the world and could cost the global economy up to $16 trillion between 2010 and 2030 if a collective failure to respond is not addressed. One person in every 4 will be affected by a mental disorder at some stage of their lives, while mental, neurological and substance use disorders exact a high toll on health outcomes, accounting for 13% of the total global burden of disease.
In some news from the United States, US President Donald Trump said in an interview yesterday that he stopped taking medication to combat coronavirus 8 hours ago. Meanwhile, US Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden yesterday sharply criticized President Donald Trump's decision to resume in-person campaigning on Saturday after being sidelined by a case of COVID-19.
More than 210,000 Americans are dead. 420,000 have been hospitalized. We lose anywhere from 700 to 1,000 people every single day in America. Worse than any country in the world. More than 7.5 million Americans have been infected, and we're still counting. Let's stand up and vote and take back this country now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Trump, eager to get back on the election campaign trail after being sidelined by a COVID-19 infection, will begin by giving remarks to supporters outdoors at the White House later today and then hold a rally in Florida 2 days later.
But Walter Reed is an incredible place, and these 11 guys came in today. They showed me stats. It's amazing. I don't know that I would have. I don't know that I was not in the greatest of shape. A day later, I was fine, maybe perfect, but I was fine. But a couple of days later, and now I'm free. I feel perfect. I'm not taking anything. I'm off any regimen that they gave me. But it was primarily this one drug.
Top US virus expert Dr. Anthony Fauci has criticized the White House for hosting a gathering last month that had been linked to an outbreak of COVID-19. Dr. Fauci, a member of the White House's coronavirus task force, said the president's unveiling of his judicial nominee was quote-unquote a super spreader event.
In some sports news tonight, it's tennis. Iga Swiatek, an unseeded teenager from Poland, won her first tour title at the French Open today with a 6-4, 6-1 defeat of the reigning Australian Open champion Sofia Kenin. 19-year-old Swiatek, the youngest woman to reach the French Open finals since 18-year-old Klim Klijesters in 2001, became the first man or woman from Poland to win a Grand Slam singles title. She entered the tournament with a number 54 world ranking, a recently acquired high school diploma, and a vague plan to test her game on the WA Tour for what she described as a gap year before deciding whether she wanted to continue her education at a university. And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for today. Of course, do remember to stay safe, wear your mask and follow health guidelines as issued by the authorities. I'm Charlene Benedict for the News First team with our sign language interpreter, Taraka Gabriel. Take care. God bless.